What up, guys? The Bench Buddies are back with our Week 5 NFL preview and picks. As always, I got Ethan joining me here this week to break down this week and last week's games, and we'll jump right into last week's games. Ethan, had a really good week as well, but I just got you by one game. And that one game, it looks like it was at the end against that Baltimore Buffalo game. Other than that, I'd say we had a pretty solid week.
Yeah, both of us having a pretty solid week. Some good games throughout the whole week, and unfortunately, Sunday Night Football kind of disappointed. But you got that right. Obviously, that's what you're referring to. And with that being said, I think that might be time to get us into this week.
Yeah, well, we got all the
Wait.
horses. Got to talk about last week's locks first, and another solid week. I got my first tie, so I'm on the board there with you for the ties this
Oh,
week with the Chargers. And I did well, but the Buffalo Baltimore over looked so good for about three quarters, and then in the fourth quarter they just didn't score, and I lost by a point and a half there. Then obviously Atlanta, they won, but just wasn't enough against the Saints as they only won by two.
yeah, we keep going steady here. I pick up a half a game on you, I guess, here. So sitting at 12, 10, and 2 on the year and 4 and 2 last week. Unfortunately, Dallas minus 5.5. Didn't quite cover. I believe they won by 5 last Thursday night. And then Pittsburgh shouldn't bet with the Steelers, but we'll see this week if I learn my lesson or not. And Minnesota plus 2.5, that hit. Jacksonville plus 6 cashed as well. And then Denver plus 7.5 last week, and your Packers and the Vikings, two offensive juggernauts,
Mhm.
lit it up last week.
Yeah, that was an easy over. And this week I'm going back to the well here with the Falcons 2.5 versus Tampa at home. I think they can get me one this week. I'm taking the under in the Jets and Minnesota game overseas in London. It seems like those games aren't like they're close games, but they're not high scoring games. So that's why I'm taking the under. The Baltimore Cincy, I think that's going to be a high scoring game, just because Baltimore put up 35 last week against the Bills defense, and I think Cincinnati is a little worse. So I think Baltimore can put up a lot, and I think Cincy can put up some numbers too with all those weapons. Nico, anytime touchdown, he's been a machine this year. I like Jacksonville plus three against Indy. Maybe they're telling me something if Vegas only has them at three. Maybe this is going to be a closer game than people think. And then the Dallas Pit under at 44. I don't even think they get to 35 in this one.
That's kind of awkward because my last pick down there, Dallas Pitt over 44. So, well, last game I picked Pittsburgh to go under. So this week I think they're going to go over 44 points, not too many points. I also have them covering 2.5 at home. Just home dogs for Mike Tomlin. It's an insane record. I don't know the record, but it's an insane stat, and it's just automatic cash. And we got Justin Fields now too. So that's a bias pick, but Pittsburgh plus 2.5. Giants, Seattle under 43.5. I think it'll be high scoring on one end and low scoring on the other end. Arizona plus 7.5 at San Francisco. Jordan Mason, anytime touchdown. Very kind of mediocre against the run for Arizona. Jordan Mason has been getting 25 carries a game and very productive. So expect a touchdown there. And then Minnesota minus 2.5, the London game. I believe that'll be an under as well. So I like your side. And I also think they're going to cover that 2.5.
Yeah, and we'll talk about tonight's game actually. Bucks, Falcons. Obviously, I'm going with the Falcons because you saw last slide that I'm taking them to cover here. And I think this offense has turned a page. They needed a little warm up, obviously, because Cousins wasn't out there in the preseason. And I think, who could have a big game in this one is Ray McLeod. He has been a guy that Kirk Cousins has turned to, besides, Drake London. Uh, Ray McLeod's been the old reliable for Kirk Cousins, and if he's on your waiver wires, I'd go give him a look, maybe pick him up because he's getting targets, and I think he could have a big game. But I think this is going to boil down to the defense in this one because both these teams match up very well, and it is a divisional game in prime time. But I just like the Falcons here at home.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this a lot too. Almost took the Falcons, but just I'm back in Baker this week. He's going to be cooking, and I'm really enjoying what he's serving over there in Tampa Bay. And hey, you know what? They're going to go into Atlanta this week, and they're gonna win this game. And the Falcons are good, but the Bucks can play some really gritty defense as well. And Baker can just throw. They got too many weapons down there. They're just going to score too many points for the Falcons, I think.
Yeah, then
But
obviously.
also, real quick, but also we got baseball tonight, so We're
Mm-hmm.
gonna be watching both of those. Who do you got in the Mets Brewers, just in case anybody
Gotta go
likes?
Mets. Let's go Mets, baby. How about those
All
Mets?
right, yeah,
Let's
yeah. All
go
right, I'm
Mets.
going Brewers.
I think Grimace is gonna come out to play tonight, so
All right,
he's not messing around. But we'll jump back into football. And
yeah.
speaking of jumping, jumping overseas for the first game this year overseas. Jets Vikings, 9:30 in the morning, 8:30 in the morning for me. So I get to wake up and immediately there's football on all day. So that's gonna be a great day. And I'm going with the Vikings, like you said. I think they cover in this one. The Jets kind of been pretty sluggish through the first four games, and I think they're going to be more of a second half team. Like not in this game, but I'm talking second half of the season because I think the Jets are still going to be a good football team, but I just don't think they're able to compete with those top dogs yet.
Yeah, and I like the Vikings here. They already beat the top three teams in football. So the Jets haven't played well. They haven't showed me anything. Plus, both teams have to deal with the flight and everything. So neither team's at an advantage there. Vikings are much better coached. I just got to take the Vikings here early morning. Sam Darnold's he's gonna be hungry. So Jettas too.
And then moving to that 1 o'clock slate, Panthers, Bears, battle of mid in the recent years. But you want to talk about what the Panthers did, gave up on their future to go get Bryce Young and actually get traded with the Bears. And because of that, the Bears got Caleb Williams and obviously a ton more. And I think this is where the Bears are going to put a little cherry on top in this one and show them that they've already won the trade and are going to continue to win that trade here with a win.
Yeah, and I think that'll happen too. But if it doesn't, that would be brutal as a Bears fan if you lose this game here to the Panthers and Andy Dalton, hey, it could happen. Bears haven't been playing great, but Caleb Williams has been getting better, and they already have two wins, so they're still in this. They're in this jumbled up. They're not 0-4. They could be a lot worse off. So 2-2 is a good start, and they should win this game too. So overall, I think a solid start if they win this game for the Bears.
Yeah, and then obviously you want to talk about a big game here. I mean, you got the Ravens, Bengals, and let's say I'm taking the Bengals, obviously. So I think both these teams are going to be at 2-3, and I don't think anyone would have saw that coming. But if you have the Ravens winning, they go 3-2, and the Bengals are 1-4. Obviously, no one saw that coming. So regardless, this is a huge game for both of these teams early in the season, just because it feels like it is a must win, and no one wants their season to really kind of end in week 5 here. And it just kind of has that feel to it, at least in my opinion. And because of that, I'm going to go with the Bengals at home. I'm surprised this isn't a 425 game. I thought it would be probably just because, obviously these teams play well all the time together. But I think Burrow's finally going to get a big win here and really vault this team back to where we thought they would be.
Yeah, you make some good points there. This is going to be a great game. I do wish it was slated back a little bit, but it's just a great day of football all in all. I think there's good matchups everywhere. So 1 o'clock, I think this will be on the national broadcast here. I don't know. I don't really like either of these teams. So, I'm going with the Ravens here. Obviously, I think they're slightly better right now, a lot better defensively, better coached. They have the best running game in the league. So, I think I think picking the Ravens here. But the Bengals and Joe Burrow, I feel like if they win this game, that's going to show a lot of momentum going forward here into November or October.
And then we got the Bills, Texans, another huge game for both these teams. Possibly be one of the better teams in the AFC after this. I'm going with the Texans at home. Surprised they're not favored by one at home, just because it is a home game. And because of what Buffalo did last week, I get the Texans won last week and only won by 4 against the Jaguars, but a win is a win. And coming off a loss, ugly loss, and you're still favored on the road is kind of concerning against a good team. But I'm still going to go with the Texans because, as long as they can figure out a run game in this one, whether Mixon plays or not, and if Akers plays, they still got to have a run game. Because without a run game, obviously they throw it a ton, but knowing that they're going to throw it then 90% of the time, the Bills obviously are going to play a lot of zone coverage and really be ready for that. So it really depends on if the Texans can run this game. And if they do, they're probably going to win this game.
Yeah, well, I'm taking the Bills here. I think it's a big comeback spot here. They don't want to lose two straight here. So, Josh Allen is going to go Superman mode if he needs to this game. Texans have a good defense, but not overpowering. I think this is a big spot here, and I'm gonna trust the Bills offense just slightly a little bit more than the Texans right now, but Texans are getting up there, and I think this is going to be a that spread is very close, and I think these numbers are really close here.
Yeah, and then a battle of mid Colts, Jaguars. Jaguars looking for the first win, and I think they're going to get it against a sluggish Colts team that really hasn't figured it out.
Well, they beat the Steelers last week, but other than that, they really haven't. So Jags need to get their first win, like you said, and I think they'll do it.
And then another unfortunate battle of mid Dolphins, Patriots. Maybe we'll see Drake May in this one. That's the only kind of thing that really is exciting in this matchup, if that is the case. But I'm going with the Patriots at home because I like the better defense.
I'm gonna hit the Dolphins on the road here, but this could go either way. Both kind of crappy times in their seasons right now. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Dolphins.
And you want to talk about a team that isn't pretty crappy? Well, besides the Browns, obviously, you're always crappy, but
Yeah.
the Commanders, I mean, this team, we were talking before we even made this video that the Commanders not only could just make the playoffs and Jaden Daniels wins MVP Rookie of the Year, this team could also win the NFC East. And I don't think anybody saw that coming. Kind of like giving me the vibes of last year's Houston Texans, kind of coming out of nowhere, draft a quarterback early, give him some weapons. And yeah, obviously we're both taking them to win here. So if that happens, they're gonna be 4-1 here. I hopped on their over under for wins at 7.5 2 weeks ago, and it's looking pretty promising already so far. So I love the Commanders here.
Yeah, I really like the Commanders here as well. Just been rolling offensively and playing really good ball. Browns have not been able to get it together, so give me the Commanders here. And they're at home here, so really thinking the Commanders will stick it to them here, and Jaden Daniels will have a big game.
And then we got the Raiders Broncos kicking off the 4 o'clock slate. I'm going with the Raiders on the road. Amid the Devontae Adams trade rumors, don't know if he's actually going to play this week or not. Obviously, he has that injury. I don't know how serious that is. But if that's the case, I think they've already said they're going to get Madison more involved because White has done absolutely nothing this year. So Madison looks like he's going to be the feature back. And then you also have Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker, who had a monster last 2 games. So maybe the Raiders are okay without Devontae. He doesn't really fit the system well, at least what it seems like here. And I still think they're going to play some good football because Antonio Pierce still gets his guys ready to play. And I think kind of last week's win the Broncos over the Jets was kind of a fluke thing just because of the bad weather.
Yeah, well, the Broncos have played really good defense the last 2 weeks, and they started 0-2, and they're really coming back, winning two straight here. I think they're going to win their third straight game. I think it's going to be another game like it was last week. And Bo Nix obviously didn't look great last week at all, to say the least there, but they still came out with the win. And I think it's going to be similar this week. I think the Broncos, they're just winning ball games, and the Raiders are like all the stuff you said. I think that's going to be a negative. So give me the Broncos.
And then a big game here for both these teams in the NFC West. Obviously, I'm going with the Niners at home, favored by 7.5. I don't know if they're going to cover that because I think this could be a better game than people think. But I do think the Niners are going to have a good game plan. Probably put up at least 30 in this one because the Cardinals defense has been getting exposed these last few weeks. And the Niners starting to click here, even without McCaffrey. Debo was back. Kittle hopefully still good to go and healthy. And if that's the case, if Brock Purdy's still good, in his 3 game starts, I think, I don't know what his exact stats were, but he's put up averaging around 30 points per game in fantasy. So I'm assuming Brock Purdy's playing some good football against the Cardinals here, and then give me the Niners here at home.
Yeah, he's playing good ball, and their offense is moving, but the Cardinals are playing well too. Despite the game last week, obviously that was an ugly loss to the Commanders. But the Commanders, we already talked about them, and we were talking about the Cardinals before the season, how we think it's going to be a new chapter here in Arizona, and I think it starts here. Big win here, because if you lose this game, you're basically out of the division. I mean, you're not completely out of it, but you're basically toast. So big win here. Niners are good, but they're definitely vulnerable, and I think the Cardinals will get them this year.
And at 425, I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. So we're probably going to be wrong here. So the Seahawks should win this game with their great defense. They've come alive on offense. They suffered their first loss last week on the road in Detroit, and the Seahawks probably played one of their better games they've played all year. The defense was good, but just the Lions did Lions things, and they're a very explosive offense. It's tough trying to slow down that offense, but if you want to take something out of that game, like I said, the offense for Seattle really kind of finding its groove, and I think that continues this week against the Giants.
Oh yeah, like you said, they're gonna find their groove. K9 scoring 3 touchdowns last week was huge. I think this week it'll be continue same offensive explosion, and the Seahawks should win it.
Then my Packers go on the road to face the Rams, and kind of a must-win game for both these teams. Rams obviously still trying to get back to 500 after last week's loss to the Bears. Then the Packers losing at home to the Vikings in an awful first half, great second half performance. And both these teams are needing a win just because coming off that loss, no one wants to have a losing streak here. And I think the Packers are going to do it just because they're healthier. The Rams still without Puka and Cooper Kupp, and missing those two guys hurt Stafford. Stafford's been playing some good football in their absence, but I just think the Packers have more talent on the field here.
Yeah, I like the Packers as well. I think Dontavian Wicks is going to get involved this week. Rams secondary was really bad. I felt like Caleb Williams was missing some throws last week that the Rams were just blowing. So I think Jordan Love will hit him or Malik Willis or I think they'll hit him and Packers will win it here.
Then moving to the Sunday night game, obviously your Steelers at home against the America's team. And I'm going with Cowboys here. I think the Cowboys, this is a must win for them if they lose this one. You might see some shakeup because the trade deadline's only a few weeks away. Maybe the Cowboys make a move if they lose this game. If they win this one, they probably will still make a move, but maybe a little more cautious. And Jerry Jones isn't happy right now where this team is trending, and they're already going to be without Micah Parsons, Dexter Lawrence, Deron Bland, and Brandon Cooks for this week. So the Steelers' offense might explode in this one, and I don't think a lot of people could see that coming. So I get why you're taking the over, but I just think that this Cowboys team finds ways to win these ugly games, and that's just what's going to happen.
Well, like I kind of said earlier, I'm obviously taking the Steelers. Well, like I was talking about earlier, they're at home. Coach Tomlin is a road or a home dog here, minus plus 2.5. Justin Fields, we haven't seen this yet. So, I mean, Justin Fields has played a lot of good football. Cowboys have not looked great to me. And Steelers defense, I think that's a great matchup. I think we'll be able to lock down the defense, the Dak and the rest of that offense. I think it'll be a good game and it'll come down to 3 points, but I do think the Steelers are going to win it. So give me them here.
Then moving to Monday Night Football, surprisingly a good battle, maybe. Saints go on the road to face the undefeated Chiefs. Obviously, I'm going with the Chiefs at home, but their wide receiver room is just so small at this point. Rashee Rice possibly done for the year with the torn ACL. No one's really confirmed it yet, so maybe it's not as bad as we all think.
Mhm.
He could return, but they haven't said that he is officially out for the year. So we do have that. But obviously, Marquise Brown is done for the year. So Xavier Worthy is going to have to step up and be that guy that they drafted him to be. Maybe it was a little too early that maybe it could happen. But if you want to talk, we already talked about some trades and receivers help. The Chiefs could be that team that could go get someone. And, the rich get richer is what it feels like. But for this week, this game, I can see the Chiefs winning this one here pretty dominantly. I think the Saints are kind of a fluke team after that 2-0 start.
Yeah, well, I think the Chiefs are going to win this game, and I think they're going to be able to stop the run, stop Kamara, stop Taysom Hill in the red zone. But I do think that points are going to come in a little bit slower pace for the Chiefs, with all the injuries. I mean, they can't be still scoring. I think it'll be a little bit lower scoring. Chiefs Saints, they'll keep it within 5 or 6, and then I think the Chiefs will end up putting them away and winning the ball game.
And that's going to be it for our week 5 picks. Check back next week to see how we did, and obviously for next week's biggest games. But until the next time, the Bench Buddies are out.